Hey, good morning. How y'all doing? It is Well Red Beard, and it is a damn fine day. Damn fine day to talk about a book. We're here for a book review, and today we are going to talk about If Only a Heart by Caleb Stevens. This book is a short story collection. I think roughly there's 13 stories in here. There are shorts on shorts up for all of them. So if you want more details on the individual stories, at the end of this, when this review goes live, I'll pull it all together in a playlist, and you have a playlist and a little, 2 to 3 minute video on each story, kind of telling you what's going on there. And there's a lot going on here. There's a wide spectrum of themes, a wide spectrum of stories. There's grief and loss stuff, but there's also monsters and a bit of like self-sacrifice type stuff. Vengeance. There's a bit of vengeance horror here. There's back road, late at night, monster by the headlights type stuff. Just a lot of really, really cool stories, and I really liked this book, and I don't think I knew how much I liked it until I went back and started looking at these stories a second time to pick my top four. I had a really hard time picking my top four. Like, there are some really fucking good stories here that did not make my top four, and that's always the sign of a great collection. So for me, I'm going to give it 4 stars, and that's really high for me for a collection. You guys know that. But there were no stories in here I didn't like. There were a few that, like, there was one that I think I said I wish it would have stopped here. Like, it went over here to the next level, and man, in my humble opinion, I just wish it would have stopped and not gone there. There might have been one where, like, I didn't really care much for the story, but then it was wrapped up in this really cool way that kind of knocked me on my ass. So looking back at it, I mean, I enjoyed it while reading it, but I read it slow. I read it over the course of a month or whatever, story at a time, doing the shorts on shorts vids. And so I didn't realize, like, I didn't recall how good it was until looking back. So 4 star short story collection. And for me, that's where the magic is. I didn't know Caleb Stevens. I'd never heard of him. I hadn't seen anybody else really talking about his work. And it's funny because you writers know this. There's a ton of you out there, but to me, it felt like he was new to the game, but he's not new to the game. He's been writing for I'm speaking off the cuff here, so I may get this wrong, but he's been writing for like 20 years, and there's been highs and lows, and again, you guys know the story, but it felt like a debut, but it's not. He's a very, very seasoned writer. And what I was trying to get to is, for me, that's where the magic is. When I find a book that I don't think a lot of people are talking about, although I will say I've seen a lot more about this book since I've been in it. But when it came to me, I hadn't seen much about it. But when I find a book that's not overly hyped, there's not a ton of people talking about it, and it's really good. And that's why I do this. That's what I enjoy about this. I often use Michael Clark's Patience of a Dead Man series as an example of that. I kind of felt that I got my hands on that and started talking about that before anybody else, and that's a fucking hell of a series. But anyway, great collection. 4 stars from me. Now, my favorite stories in this book, again, I had a hard damn time with that. But my number 4, and I might get this wrong, my number 4 is Welcome to Camp Klehani. It's 1986. It's a fat camp, and our main character goes to the fat camp and meets his buddies, and it's not so bad. The food sucks, but we got some exercise in the morning, but then we get some free time. We'll get to play some Dungeons and Dragons and this and that. But there's a new great group of counselors, and the menu has definitely changed for the good. These counselors don't seem to really give a shit what our campers are eating. They're after something else, and it's a creepy but cool, campy, type tale. Very, I guess, perfect for like a around the campfire type story. But yeah, Welcome to Camp Klehani. That's my number 4 story. Now, my number 3 story in this book is Don't Let Her In. And this is the one where I referenced earlier, talking about the monster, complete darkness, country road, the monster by the headlights of the vehicle, and and then they jump out of the headlights. Where are they going? Where, but what if that monster was grandma? And what if grandma was naked? And what if grandma died a year and a half ago? And it's just that whole element to it kind of shocked me, put me on edge. I enjoyed the fear factor to that particular story. I think, when you put a familiar face on horror, it makes it that much more horrific. That's grandma, man, But anyway, I really enjoyed the story Don't Let Her In. Man, I'm torn on number 2 and number 1. Let me check out this real quick. All right. Gosh darn it. I Will Wait for You is my third favorite story. It's a short story. And that's probably the reason that I'm gonna make it number 2 instead of number 1. It's very short, 4 pages long, but it's about loss, and it's Halloween. There's a woman, in a house, and there's no decorations here. The porch light's not on. She is not receiving trick or treaters. She's waiting for something. Her daughter died on Halloween, and she comes back and visits her every year, and she gets a moment. She gets a moment to see her through the window, how beautiful she was, how perfect her little girl was, and then she has to watch her fade and waste from cancer like she did in real life. And for me, it was just heartbreaking, but that's the real life thing, right? Like, we want to hold those images of our perfect family members in our head. We want to hold the images of when they were healthy and vibrant. But often, if you've seen them through to the end, often it's those images of them fading and wasting and all that tends to stick with you. And it was just dark but beautiful. And I Will Wait for You is my second favorite story in the book. Number 1, probably the best twist in the book, probably the best raw horror in the book. I would say The Backward Man. It's our main character sees this tall, thin man in a top hat, and it comes to the point where he sees it before something bad happens. The very first time he sees it is when his mom died in a car wreck. He was in the car with her, but his mom died in a car wreck, and the opening to this story is really, really great. But the twist is the best part. The twist, the end, what happens. He basically, spends his youth protecting his brother, because when he sees the backward man, he doesn't want it to be coming for his brother. So when he's supposed to be in college, he's just kind of hanging around and helping his brother survive through high school. And but the final scene in this, the twist is wild. It's really, really good. So so my top 4 again were number 1, The Backward Man. Number 2, I Will Wait for You. Number 3 is Don't Let Her In. Is that right? Don't Let Her In. And number 4 was Welcome to Camp Klehani. And I'm telling you, there's so many good stories in here that did not make the top 4, but it is a hell of a collection. Definitely worth your time. Definitely. Will probably be up for short story collection of the year at the end of the year. I don't know. Again, I took a long break. I have to go back and look at all the other collections I've read, but it's a really, really solid horror short story collection. I gave it 4 stars. If Only a Heart by Caleb Stevens. This is Well Read Beard. This has been my review. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're enjoying all your books. All of them. As much as I am. If not, you are reading the wrong damn books.